So today we have good fortune of having His Grace Shivananda Prabhuji, and he will be speaking on Srimad Bhagavatam 4.6.26. So Prabhuji, please take over the call.
Okay. All right, first of all, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripasindhubhayevcha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Please accept my obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to your spiritual masters, all glories to all the devotees of the Lord. So usually whenever I give Srimad Bhagavatam class, I chant some prayers before. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat. Before uttering this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we offer our respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. And I also offer my very humble and very respectful obeisances to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who has very kindly translated and commented upon this Srimad Bhagavatam for our benefit. Nasta prayeshu amadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttam shloke bhakti bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance at the Srimad Bhagavatam class and by rendering of service to the pure devotees, everything that is inauspicious within the heart is practically destroyed to nil, and loving devotional service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental verses, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. So this morning we're reading from Canto 4, The Creation of the Fourth Order, chapter number 6, Lord Brahma satisfies Lord Shiva, and this is text number 26. And the Sanskrit for this verse is Yayos tat snana vibrasta navakunkum pinjaram vitrisho pi pibanti amba payanto gaja gaji. Translation for this verse is, after the damsels of the heavenly planets bathe in the water, it becomes yellowish and fragrant due to the kumkum from their bodies. Thus the elephants come to drink there with their wives, and there's no and there. Thus the elephants come to bathe there with their wives, the she-elephants, and they also drink water, although they are not thirsty. So there's no purport to this verse, so I will go on to the next verse, which is 27. Tara Hema Maharatna Vimana Shata Sankulam Justam Punyajana Stribir Yatakam Satadid Ganam. And the translation for this verse is, the airplanes of the heavenly denizens are bedecked with pearls, gold, and many valuable jewels. The heavenly denizens are compared to clouds in the sky, decorated with occasional flashes of electric lightning. Purport. The airplanes described in this verse are different from the airplanes of which we have experience. In the Srimad Bhagavatam and all the Vedic literatures, there are many descriptions of Vimana, which means airplanes. On different planets, there are different kinds of airplanes. On this gross planet Earth, there are airplanes run by machine. But on other planets, the airplanes are run not by machine, but by mantric hymns. They are also used especially for enjoyment by the denizens of the heavenly planets, so that they can go from one planet to another. On other planets, which are called Siddhalokas, the denizens can travel from one planet to another without airplanes. The beautiful airplanes from the heavenly planets are compared here to the sky because they fly in the sky. The passengers are compared to the clouds. The beautiful damsels, the wives of the denizens of the heavenly planets, are compared to lightning. In summation, the airplanes with their passengers, which came from the higher planets to Kailash, were very pleasant to look at. So, Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manubhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatanvitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya evacha Pattitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Maum Vishnupada Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Paskachada Satarni. So here in this section of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we're speaking and learning about Lord Shiva's abode, because Lord Brahma and the demigods, they're going to visit Lord Shiva, and so we're getting an idea here about Lord Shiva's abode, which is referred to here also as Kailash Hill. There is also a Kailash mountain in the Himalayas, but what all that we see is stone and ice and snow and like that. We don't get to see all these wonderful plants and trees and denizens and airplanes and jewels and minerals and waterfalls and all these wonderful things that are being spoken of in this particular section of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So in this particular verse, we're hearing about the airplanes of the denizens, heavenly denizens who are coming there. And as Prabhupada mentions here in the purport, he says that the airplanes described in this verse are different from the airplanes of which we have experience. So, of course, you and I have some experience of airplanes here in the material world. And the airplanes here in the material world are powered by jet engines usually. There are also internal combustion engines on smaller planes, but they're the jet engines which work by burning fuel and compressing air and doing things like that. And then they burn the fuel, and then it pushes pushes very strongly the airplane. And of course they build the airplane out of very light materials like aluminum and things like that, so that they're not too heavy and they can fly. So this is what happens here in the material world. And then of course, so if you go to the airport, then sometimes there's cancellations and there's changes, and then sometimes you have to, there's sometimes many inconveniences, different flights, and something happens in one particular place and flights get canceled, and all these different things that are going on here in the material world. But in the subtle realms, we have airplanes also, but they are not run by that. But Prabhupada says they're by mantric hymns. I've also done some different investigations about vimanas, and I remember one particular vimana that I read about that was powered by mercury. Usually here in the material world, they use gasoline and kerosene and things like that burn, and then they're all done by fire expansion of fire. But that's not the only kind of vimana or airplanes that are around. And I did read about one that was powered by mercury, but I don't know exactly how that works. I don't know if anybody knows how that works, because if they knew about it, then they might try and duplicate that. Very often, the use of an airplane is also dependent upon the persons who are using it. And so, of course, you and I were living here in the material world, and persons like in the heavenly planets, they're very great personalities, so they're not subject to having to undergo things the way we do it. And they can run things by mantra, they can run things by Prabhupada mentions also the inhabitants of Siddhaloka. They don't even need airplanes. They just fly in the air. So this is possible for some people and some places. But some of the airplanes we're hearing about from the heavenly planets, they're very beautifully decorated. We hear also earlier about Kardama Muni. Kardama Muni created an airplane. It was like a big city, and had beautiful architecture and ponds and birds and trees, and all. It was really decked out, and it was really nice. And so and they have sitting places, and very, very highly cultured and very, very opulent, nice places. So we don't have that facility here. We even also in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it tells us about there are mountains that actually fly. They used to have wings previously. And sometimes the mountains would fly in one place, and inadvertently they might land on people and kill them. And this pretty big, heavy, thing like a mountain. You might wonder how even if you have wings, how would you fly around? But one time Srila Prabhupada was going to Gita Nagari, and there's some mountains there on the way that you can see. And Srila Prabhupada commented that these mountains used to fly. So there was some problem with the inhabitants of the earth at that time, and so Indra took it upon himself to cut the wings off the mountains so that they wouldn't be bothering people and landing. There's also mention in the Ramayana about one particular mountain that tried to escape from Indra's chastisement, and he went in the ocean. There's actually these are all different personalities. Also, the mountains are personalities also, and they're conscious, and they were consciously flying from one place to another. And with this particular mountain that's mentioned in the Ramayana, when Indra was busy cutting off the wings of the mountains, he went in the ocean, took shelter in the ocean. Then, when Hanuman was Hanuman wasn't running, he jumped across the ocean from India to Sri Lanka, and then the mountain was aware of his flying through the air. So the mountain came up from the ocean and spoke to Hanuman and said, "You come and you rest here for a little while, and you keep going. You can continue on afterwards." And Hanuman was very much appreciative, and he patted the mountain and said, "Thank you very much, but I can't stop right now. I've got on Lord Ramachandra's mission. I have to keep going." So he was appreciative of the mountain, and he kept flying. He kept flying through the air on his way to Lanka. So, and the mountain explained to him that I was trying to hide from Indra so I wouldn't get my wings cut off. I took shelter in the ocean, and then so this is what happened. So these things, very amazing things that are going on in previous ages and previous times. There'll probably be very many amazing things that go on in the future. There are all these different kinds of things which are mentioned in the Vedic scriptures. So this is, we're getting different informations about different realms and different times and different places, and so this was going on also in this particular story. So we have to understand that there's different places and different realms and different persons and different situations, and so these things are going on, and they may not tally with our present understanding of things. That's okay. They just don't tally with what we have. And there are other realms and places where there are airplanes and different kinds of living entities and different, just like it mentions also in the Mahabharata, that when Krishna went to get to the heavenly planets to return the earrings of Aditi after killing Baumasura, that he took a parijata tree from there, and the denizens, Indra especially, was upset about that, and he countered Krishna, and Krishna had told Satyabhama that he was going to get her this tree, and so he brought it back. And then it mentions there also that the bees from the heavenly planets, they migrated to Dwarka, where Satyabhama put this parijata tree in her garden, and it was very auspicious and very nice, and all the bees from the heavenly planets, they came here because of the parijata tree. So I don't know what the difference is between the bees in the heavenly planets and the bees here, but there's a great difference between the demigods and us, and so these different types of personalities, different types of realms, different types of things going on. When Lord Krishna was present 5,000 years ago, all kinds of different things were present on the planet that we don't know about now, or we don't have experience of now. And so some things have changed because of the ages change. That was previously Dwapara Yuga, and then now it's Kali Yuga. So the connection between the residents of the Earth planet and the connection with the heavenly planets is no longer so much there. 5,000 years ago, they would come for big sacrifices. They came when Maharaj Yudhisthira performed the Rajasuya and all these other sacrifices that were performed. So they were present in those days. Nowadays, the people in general are not very much believing in the demigods. So they refer to it as Vedic mythology. They also speak about Greek mythology and Roman mythology and this mythology and that mythology. We understand, of course, that it's not really mythology. It's not a myth. It actually exists, but now we don't have access to that. So similarly, we don't have access to the airplanes that the denizens of the heavenly planets have, and so, but they're apparently very, very beautiful and very beautifully decorated, and very pleasant to look at. And so the residents of the heavenly planets, they were coming to Kailash and bathing in the areas there. And the heavenly damsels were bathing in the water, and the water became yellowish and fragrant from the kumkum that they have on their bodies. So these are all very wonderful stories and very wonderful explanations about other realms and other situations. We shouldn't be concerned about this. Well, this is... we shouldn't think that this is some type of an imagination. It's not imagination. It's just that we don't have so much experience of different realms and different, how shall we say, different dimensions. That's the word that I was looking at for. Very often in Sariputta Prabhu's books, he refers to different dimensions in the universe. So there may be many, many dimensions that we're not aware of, and that doesn't mean that they're not there. It just means that we are not aware of it, and we can become, and we should become aware of that there are many different dimensions and many different places that don't quite tally with what we understand. But we don't understand very much at all. It's just a question that we're a little bit blunt and we're a little bit inexperienced, and there may be so many other things going on in the universe that we're not aware of. Even on the material plane, there are so many things that we don't know about and don't experience. Our senses are very limited. Our senses are very imperfect, and this is one of the conditioning situations with conditioned souls, that our senses are imperfect, so we don't understand so many things. And even on platforms of biology and botany and things like that, there's so many things. Previously, when Mr. Darwin was composing his theory of evolution, people didn't know about cells at all. They thought that the cell was just a kind of little bag of chemicals and didn't know very much about it. But then with the use of electron microscopes and different things, they've been able to look into the cell, and they found that the cell is extremely complex. One little tiny cell in our bodies is more complicated than New York City. New York City is a very big city, and they have all kinds of different departments and all kinds of different things going on, and so it's very complex. But what goes on in the cell is more amazing than what goes on in what we can relate to something like the organization of a city like New York. These, we shouldn't be surprised. We should just accept this the version that we're getting from Srimad Bhagavatam and understand that my understanding is very limited. My senses are the senses that I have in this body, they don't see so many things. If you just look in, you may have had class in chemistry or physics in high school or college, and there's what's referred to as the electromagnetic spectrum. These are all different types of manifestations of electromagnetism, and there's very small wavelengths, there's very long wavelengths. Television waves, radio waves are very long. We don't see them, but we can get a radio receiver and a television set, and then we can pick up these different things that are going through the air. Now, of course, nowadays they have going through cable, but they're also going through the air, and one can pick them up and just needs a receiver. So in the same way, we need to become receptive and understand that these things are there, and these things are going on, and the demigods, they have airplanes, and they fly on their airplanes, and some demigods, they don't even need airplanes. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just walk out off the front porch, and then just whoop, take off into the air? That would be very nice. But it's not something which is allowed here in the Earth planet. Every different planet has a different atmosphere, has a different situation, has a different restrictions, and different so many different things. And so the demigods, they're not as restricted as we are. And it's understood also that the demigods, they can change their forms at will. It mentions in the story with Bali Maharaj that the Bali Maharaj came up to Indra's planet, and then they knew that, oh boy, we can't do anything about him. And so they took off as birds and flew out of the city, and the demigods can do that. There are other personalities we see also in the Mahabharata. The Rakshasas, they can take different forms at will. We see that in the story of Hidimbi and the Pandavas, that she was sent by her brother to go and see what human beings were coming there, and then she saw Bhima, and she immediately fell in love with him, because Bhima was not only extremely powerful bodily, but he was also extremely handsome, very beautiful looking person. And so she immediately fell in love with him, and then she changed her form as a Rakshasi into a very beautiful young lady and started speaking to Bhima and like that. So, these are things that were difficult for us to sometimes understand or imagine. So we accept the version of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam and other Vedic scriptures are full of informations that we don't have experience of here in the material world. But just the idea is for us to understand that I just don't have that experience. I don't have that ability to understand all these things. So these things are there in the Vedic scriptures, and especially here in Srimad Bhagavatam, we're learning about Kailash, which is Lord Shiva's abode, very, very beautiful. Although I'd like to go there and see all these different wonderful trees and plants and waterfalls and beautiful inhabitants and birds and flowers and so many different bathing ghats and beautiful waterfalls and all these different situations. So we receive these informations from Srimad Bhagavatam and we accept them. Srimad Bhagavatam was certified by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the Amala Purana, the pure Purana. And Puranas, of course, are very valuable and very wonderful scriptures. They're considered to be even more valuable than the Vedas. And Mahabharata also. This is spoken about. The Mahabharata is even more valuable in the present time than even the Vedas. So these are the informations that we get. And we just have to understand that our senses are very limited, and there's so many things that we can't experience, and there's so many things that we don't know about. And there's so many things that we can't perceive, and so many things that we can't just understand. And even in, like I was mentioning before, in plants and cells, and so many things are going on there. And they're learning more and more all the time about what different things are happening inside of the cell, and also all the different things that are going on. So in this way, we get new informations. We get informations about realms and places that we don't have experience of, and so in this way, we are benefited and blessed by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and hearing about all these different places. And this is just a kind of like a side issue in this particular section of the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is kind of like a side issue just describing the abode of Lord Shiva, because what the story is going on is that Lord Brahma is coming with the demigods to see Lord Shiva and pacify him after all the difficulty that went on with the Daksha Yajna. And so this is kind of even like a side issue, but we can get benefit and get blessings from Srimad Bhagavatam in this way, and learn all the different things about the persons of the heavenly planets, and they have airplanes, and they fly in the air, and their airplanes are very beautiful to look at, and in this way we can appreciate other realms. We can appreciate other situations that we may not have experience of. So I'll stop there, and I'll read over the verses, and then we see if we can have questions to discuss. The verses are, after the damsels of the heavenly planets bathe in the water, it becomes yellowish and fragrant due to the kumkum from their bodies. Thus the elephants come to bathe there along with their wives, and the she-elephants, and also drink the water, although they are not thirsty. The airplanes of the heavenly denizens are bedecked with pearls, gold, and many valuable jewels. The heavenly denizens are compared to clouds in the sky, decorated with occasional flashes of electric lightning. So, questions, comments, anything that anyone would like to say about this subject matter?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. And Brahma goes to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Very, very wonderful class, Prabhuji. And, like demigods, they have so many powers, They can fly, and they can do certain things which we cannot do. And for you gave the example, even the demons, they are so powerful and they can do such things. So my question is, why not human beings? Why can't we do that?
Well, you and I are a little bit limited, and we're a little bit not qualified as the demigods, but we can become qualified, just like there's persons who are yogis, and we can practice yoga, and then we can develop yogic powers. These powers are there, these abilities are there, just that, you and I, we just haven't been, so qualified. And we need to become qualified. We can become qualified. We can become purified. by the process of practicing the process of devotional service, and then we can become more qualified than we are now, and more purified and more cleansed. And see, the demigods are almost completely in the mode of goodness, completely. And people on the earth planet here, we're mostly in the modes of passion and ignorance. And so we don't have so much access to these. But as we become purified in the process of devotional service, we begin to develop certain abilities and certain talents, and we may be able to do very wonderful things. Of course, the devotees of the Lord, they're not so much concerned about all these different powers and abilities that are developing them. They want to depend on Krishna. So even though it's understood that a pure devotee, he has all the mystic powers and mystic abilities that are available, but he doesn't care to exercise them. He's preaching. He's trying to help others become Krishna conscious. So although right now you and I are kind of like human beings and we're not so qualified, we can become qualified. You and I can become purified and qualified. And so that's why we're chanting Hare Krishna. That's why we're engaging in the process of devotional service, so that we can become cleansed of all material contaminations and restrictions and things like that. So when you and I advance nicely in devotional service, then these abilities and talents and these things may become available to us. And hopefully we won't get too involved in that. Hopefully we'll just continue on in our practice of devotional service and depend on Krishna. The idea is that a devotee, you and I, we all need to depend on Krishna for all kinds of help and everything that we need. And we leave all kinds of things up, let Krishna do them. And because sometimes we might get overly, if we have some mystic powers and mystic abilities, sometimes it's very attractive and we want to do all kinds of different things that the yogis can do. But this is sometimes considered to be a distraction from pure devotional service. So in the course of time, as you and I develop, become more and more purified, we'll see that we may be able to do things like that, like the demigods do. But at the same time, we want to also be very careful that we don't become enamored of all these different powers and abilities that we can develop as we become purified. We have to also always try and remember Krishna and be Krishna conscious, and then if something needs to be done, then we can depend on Krishna, and then he'll do all kinds of wonderful things in our lives and in the lives of others. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhuji, very, very beautiful answer, Prabhuji, and very important. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Anything else that anyone would like to ask, or not just ask, but also add to the class? Because I have some experience and some, but others may have other experience. Anything else?
Regarding this aspirational, sometimes we hear this very lofty description in the heavenly planets and different things. And so the temptation is there because we are in a material world, because our experience is very rotten. So that material tendency sometimes wants to creep in. Oh, yes. When can I experience that wonderful thing described? But what we are aspiring is the purification, as you said. And the symptom of purification will come. Symptom of purification is that we will cease from having any temptation or attraction for this mundane world, even heavenly or other places. Our aspiration is for the highest achievement. So although we are struggling at the present level in this, our experience of mundane incompleteness even, but the purification which we are aspiring is to free us from any temptation for higher material benefits or understanding, because ours is a path of a pure devotional service, and in that our hankering for the ultimate must be sustained, because whatever, as you said wonderfully, there is a danger of be distracted from the pure devotional service. So Srimad Bhagavatam is preparing all of us how we prepare for true purification, and really targeting always, the focus always remains on the highest thing. And that's why the hankering, all our acharyas teach us how we sustain a hankering for the real thing, for Krishna darshan or to attainment of the service. So thank you very much.
Yes. Yeah, well, sometimes when I think of this verse or verses like this, I think about, boy, I'd like to have an airplane like that. And then I would go in my airplane and I'd fly down to Charlotte or somewhere and pick up all the devotees, and we'd go to visit Vrindavan and then come flying back. And but, these things could be a distraction, So we just have to depend on Krishna, and whatever Krishna offers or helps with, we'll deal with that. And we have to work on being Krishna conscious. That's what we should keep in mind. Okay? So I'll stop there, and I wish you all a nice day. And you can remember these the stories of Srimad Bhagavatam, and as you're going through your day, and in that way we can become more and more purified. Thank you very much. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhayavacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Jai Shivananda, Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam, all those Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for your assistance.